My name is Asita Wedraogo. I am ITF Francophone Africa and ECOWAS countries activity project coordinators, and I'm based in Abidjan in the Côte d'Ivoire. I would like to welcome you to this session and thank you for coming. Dear sister, the International Transport Workers Federation, ITF, is a democratic global trade unions federation recognized as the world's leading transport authority. We fight passionately to improve working lives, connecting nearly 700 affiliated trade union federations from 150 countries that may otherwise is isolated, and helping their members to secure jobs, equality, and justice. We have a voice for nearly 20 million working men and women across the world. The ITF is headquartered in London in UK, with offices in Abidjan, Amman, Brussels, Hong Kong, Montreal, Nairobi, New Delhi, and Tokyo and Sydney. The ITF also operates internationally and the following goal from part of our constitution and aspires. Everything we do is to promote respect for trade unions and human rights throughout the world. We also help our affiliated unions to defend the interests of their members, to also provide research and information services to our affiliates. We provide general assistance to transport workers in difficulties and also work for peace based on social justice and economic progress. Dear sisters, today's plenary session will be focuses on ITF Pupils Transport Policy, Chapter 4, Women in Public Transport. Through the different contributions, we want to understand why gender equality in public transport is important and look specifically at gender principles in public transport, way to promote women's employment, and how to end gender-based violences. Dear sisters, the expansions of public transport is vital to provide women with safe, affordable, equal access to their place of work, public services, including education, childcare, and healthcare. And also, but public transport can only be gender responsive if there are women employed in the industry in every levels. And we need to ensure that women's voices, workers, and passengers are present during the planning, policymaking, research, development, and operation of our systems. To achieve all of this, dear sisters, the ITF has identified 4 key demands to ensure gender equality in public transport. These demands are set out in the gender chapter of the ITF Pupil Public Transport Policy that we are going to present today. Dear sisters, through the session, we will have here from women transport workers in the region. We will share the experiences in relation to the different demands contained. We will also look specifically at gender principles in public transport, ways to promote women's employment, and how to end gender-based violences. And we hope that as a result of the session, we'll be able to reaffirm why gender equality in public transport is very important for us. Dear sister, let me now introduce you someone who has more than 20 years in the trade unions activities, who is Claire Clark, Sister Claire Clark. She's the ITF Deputy Women Transport Workers and Gender Equality Officer. She will introduce the ITF Pupil Transport Policy and the gender chapters. Once again, welcome to this session.
Thank you, Asita, and I'm very pleased to be presenting the gender chapter of the ITF People's Public Transport Policy at this Women and Transport Africa conference. Public transport plays an important role in the lives of women. As passengers, women rely on public transport to fulfill their mobility needs, to visit family, take children to school, and access public services and employment opportunities. And women are an important part of the public transport workforce, globally working in a wide range of roles. But as we know, public transport is highly gendered. There are differences in the mobility needs and use of public transport between women and men, and inequality exists in access to transport jobs. Women working in public transport are few in number, globally representing less than 15% of the workforce. And although women work within most public transport organisations, the types of jobs they have are often highly gendered. Men traditionally hold the better paid jobs and positions of power, while women are overrepresented in the lowest paid and most precarious forms of work. Key issues facing women working in public transport include occupational segregation, inadequate working environments, conditions and arrangements, a lack of facilities, including sanitation and security measures, poor work-life balance, including long working hours and inflexible shift patterns, a lack of maternity rights, wage inequality, occupational health and safety concerns, including uniform and PPE, personal protective equipment, violence and harassment from colleagues and passengers. And the needs and concerns of women are often not properly considered in decision-making. Any measures to address gender inequality in public transport must include efforts to better engage and represent women workers in decision-making. This must also involve improving access to employment for women workers through the creation of decent and secure work opportunities that attract and retain women and challenge occupational segregation. And this should be accompanied by better representation and participation of women public transport workers in unions. And together, these will positively affect all who work in and use the public transport sector. And men will benefit from these changes too. Urban public transport plays a critical role in the economic and social life of cities, particularly in a world characterised by rapid urbanisation. As we emerge from the COVID-19 pandemic, public transport services will be vital to rebuild the life of cities. And globally, an ambitious expansion of public transport is necessary to respond to the urgent need to take action on climate change. This is an opportunity to adopt a gender-responsive approach to ensure that inequalities are not reproduced, perpetuated, or intensified. The ITF People's Public Transport Policy provides our vision for a social model of public transport that includes organisational and employment rights for workers and requires that any expansion of public transport guarantees decent jobs. The policy demands contained within relate to 6 key areas of public transport: public ownership, public financing, employment and decent work, worker control of technology, climate change, and women in public transport. Each chapter includes case studies as well as supporting campaign materials and education resources. The gender chapter of the People's Public Transport Policy provides the vision that we want for women in public transport. It looks at ways to build public transport systems that work for women as both workers and passengers, and to strengthen the role of women in public transport policy, decision-making and planning. The chapter puts forward policy demands developed by the ITF Women Transport Workers Committee. And these demands are, firstly, strengthen women's employment and promote decent work in public transport. Secondly, to end violence against women transport workers. Thirdly, to introduce technological change in a way that advances gender equality. And fourthly, involve women workers in public transport decision-making. The chapter looks at each policy demand in detail, highlighting the problems facing women in public transport and suggesting practical strategies to address them. And we will now look at each of the demands in more detail. The first demand is strengthening women's employment and promoting decent work. Women need better work opportunities to reduce the gender gap in public transport. But strengthening women's employment in public transport needs to be broader than just a focus on recruitment. There are different strategies to strengthen women's employment in the sector. These include addressing workplace issues and improving working conditions for women, ensuring that recruitment and training promote gender equality, and making sure that a gender-responsive approach is taken to the expansion of public transport. Women public transport workers can potentially benefit hugely from the development of new transport systems or changes to existing systems because of investment from public authorities, international financial institutions like the World Bank, or private investors. But women need to be represented in these developments to ensure that they benefit from them. There needs to be a just transition for women transport workers to ensure that formalisation processes include action for gender equality and that the rights and livelihoods of women workers are recognised and protected. This can include specific immediate demands for informal women workers, as well as longer term demands to be addressed in the formalisation process. And I'm now going to hand over to our sister from Senegal, who will reflect on the opportunities for women's employment with the planned introduction of BRT in Dakar. Sister Mariama will talk in French, and at different points during her intervention, our interpreter Pauline will come in to interpret what Sister Mariama has said into English.
Thank you very much, Sister Claire. C'est Mariama Diallo, je suis la secrétaire générale de la et membre du bureau exécutif de l'ITF Afrique. Merci beaucoup. Je vais parler un peu de l'impact surtout des BRT au niveau du Sénégal. Au Sénégal, il y a plus de...
Mariama, maybe I should translate.
Ah, okay.
Mariama, je vais faire la traduction.
Okay.
Thank you very much, Claire. My name is Mariama Diallo. I'm the General Secretary of the UDTS, a union in Senegal, and I'm the President of the Federation of Transport in the UDTS. I am also a member of the Executive Committee of the ITF in Africa, and today I am going to talk about the impact of the introduction of BRT in Senegal.
Thank you, Claire. Bon, vous savez, au Sénégal, nous avons plus de femmes dans l'économie informelle, dans le secteur du transport. Nous avons plus de femmes dans l'économie informelle et le BRT a impacté beaucoup sur l'économie informelle au niveau du Sénégal. Nous avons plus de 80% de travailleuses qui sont dans l'économie informelle. Et dans le BRT, je crois qu'il faut plus de femmes dans le secteur du transport. Et les syndicats sont là pour éveiller l'opinion et le gouvernement par rapport à cette problématique. dans le BRT, qui est là depuis 2017 au niveau du Sénégal. Nous avons l'équipage, les prestataires de services et les rabatteurs. Et sous la couverture de contrats formels, tout en veillant à ce qu'il y ait plus de possibilités de sécurité et de revenus, de moyens de subsistance et d'esprit d'entreprise pour les femmes de l'économie informelle ou bien pour les femmes qui seront au niveau du BRT. Nous voulons aussi plus de santé et de sécurité au niveau du BRT et la formalisation sur les compétences de négociation et le renforcement de capacités sur ce BRT-là. Le succès du système du BRT de Dakar reposera surtout sur l'intégration des travailleurs du secteur informel. Actuellement, nous avons 6% de contrats avec les employeurs et ça, c'est une menace de 5 à 10 000 emplois. Donc, il faut renforcer l'emploi des femmes et promouvoir le travail décent dans les transports publics. Et ceci, c'est une opportunité des femmes dans le cadre du BRT. Donc, il faut une égalité de genre, pas de discrimination et renforcer l'emploi des femmes dans le BRT. Et là-dessus, au niveau du Sénégal, nous avons 14 GIE, mais malheureusement, où il n'y a pas, tout le monde n'est pas embauché. Donc, il faut, c'est une opportunité avec le BRT au niveau du Sénégal d'avoir plus de femmes dans le secteur de l'informel et inclus dans le BRT. Les syndicats ont exigé une transition juste et respectueuse de la dimension genre par le biais d'une réforme et d'une expansion du système de transport public qui offre des emplois verts et décents. Et vous savez, puisque 50% de la population urbaine au niveau du Sénégal est urbaine, donc il faut que les syndicats arrivent à avoir cette intégration des femmes au niveau du BRT, au niveau du Sénégal. Nous avons plus de femmes que d'hommes au niveau du secteur informel. Donc, c'est un plaidoyer au niveau du gouvernement, au niveau du Sénégal. Mais par contre, il y a avec le statut, j'avais oublié. I understand.
As you know, in Senegal, we have a lot of women working in the informal transport sector. Over 80% of the women are in the informal transport sector. And it is envisaged that the BRT is going to have a great impact on this informal transport sector. And what we want as union is to raise awareness and lobby public opinion and governments to raise awareness around this issue. The BRT was introduced in 2017 in Senegal, and it will impact various types and categories of workers for whom we want more job security, better remuneration, and better conditions in terms of social security. And we want this BRT to be an opportunity to get more women in employment and to formalize the sector and reinforce their negotiation capacities. Well, the BRT will only work if it manages to integrate the informal transport sectors. And we know that 5,000 to 6,000 jobs are being threatened by the introduction of this system. So we really need to promote and reinforce the employment of women in public transport. This is really an opportunity for us in Senegal to have more women in the formal sector. And so we demand as union that women can access new jobs and that this access to jobs will be guaranteed for existing transport workers with fair recruitment policies, as well as having gender responsive inclusive and just transition through a redesign and an expansion of the public transport system, which will provide green and decent job opportunities. So, as you may know, in Senegal, about 50% of the population lives in cities. So it's really important for trade unions to promote the importance of women formal employment in BRT. Merci Mariama.
Je vais parler un peu de cette étude. L'accroissement des, comme ils l'ont dit, les études, l'accroissement des opportunités d'emploi va également favoriser les femmes, car le BRT, avec le BRT, de milliers d'emplois directs et indirects seront générés avec une priorité pour les femmes. C'est ce que cette étude a dit. Donc, il y aura de milliers d'emplois directs et indirects qui seront générés avec une priorité pour les femmes. Donc, il y a espoir avec cette étude. Elles bénéficieront d'un accès accru à des emplois qualifiés créés par la mise en service du BRT. Donc, il y aura une parité 50-50 femmes-hommes. Espérons qu'avec cette étude et ce qu'ils ont dit sur le rapport, que les femmes pourront accéder au travail décent au niveau du BRT. Voilà.
I wanted now to talk about CETUD, which is the transport authority responsible for mobility in Dakar. The CETUD has promised that BRT will create more opportunity for employment of women. They said that thousands of direct and indirect jobs would be created and that these jobs should go as a priority to women. So there is hope for us there that women will benefit from better access to qualified jobs with a view to achieve parity 50-50 in these jobs. So let's hope that with what the CETUD said in their report, women can access decent work in the BRT system.
Merci beaucoup. L'égalité de genre doit être un objectif clé de toute nouvelle infrastructure en transport public. Et les syndicats vont veiller à cela. Cela suppose que les femmes soient représentées dans la prise de décision et la planification des transports publics. Et voilà ce que je voulais dire en grosso modo. Et merci à Claire et merci à Pauline qui fait la traduction. Je comprends l'anglais, mais bon, pour parler, c'est un peu difficile. Merci beaucoup. La prochaine fois, je vais parler en anglais.
Thank you very much. To sum up, gender equality needs to be a key goal of any new public transport infrastructure. And this requires women to be represented in public transport decision-making and planning. That's it. This is what I really wanted to highlight. Thank you, Claire and Pauline. My English is fairly good, but I promise that next time I will speak English. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Sister Mariam, and thank you, Pauline. As part of strengthening women's employment in public transport, it is also important that there is decent work. Workplace issues that undermine a positive and equal work environment frequently affect the employment and retention of women working in public transport. And by addressing issues that affect women, working conditions will improve for all workers. Workplace issues for women working in public transport include lack of maternity rights, long working hours, poorly designed vehicles and uniforms, wage inequality, and inadequate sanitation facilities. And safe access to decent sanitation facilities is a human right for all transport workers, but many women working in public transport do not have access to separate, safe, secure, clean, and private sanitation facilities. And this is a barrier to women's employment in public transport. And the ITF has developed a Transport Workers Sanitation Charter, which provides guidance on action that employers and governments should take to ensure safe access to decent toilets for transport workers. The Charter focuses on the urgent improvements needed to protect the health and safety of transport workers, and it emphasises the importance of integrating a gender perspective into the right to sanitation, to identify the issues particular to women transport workers, and to take action to address these issues. Now, the second demand in the gender chapter of the policy is ending violence and harassment against women. Violence and harassment, including domestic violence, continues to be a daily reality for women workers in public transport and is regularly seen as part of the job. It is a powerful barrier to women's equality, negatively impacting women's mobility and contributing to gender-based occupational segregation in public transport. Decent work for women in public transport also means safe work. If governments and employers do not address the reality of gender-based violence, any intervention to increase women's employment in public transport will be undermined. So we demand that issues for women working in public transport are addressed, because this will mean better protection for workers in public transport and improved safety for passengers. In 2019, workers, governments, and employers came together at the International Labour Organization, the ILO, and made history by adopting the first ever international labour standards on violence and harassment in the world of work, ILO Convention 190 and Recommendation 206. These international labour standards take a comprehensive and integrated approach and fill the gaps in existing legislation at the international and domestic level. Transport is identified as one of the sectors more exposed to violence and harassment. The international standards also explicitly cover the types of violence and harassment that transport workers frequently face, and identify the particular risk factors that expose workers to violence and harassment in the transport sector. And I'm now going to hand over to our sister from Ghana, who will reflect on C190 as a tool to address violence and harassment in the world of work. So Sister Cynthia, if you'd like to. Okay, so it looks like Cynthia is having some technical problems, so we'll see if we can resolve that, and she can then come back in and make her contribution later on. So the third demand in the gender chapter is introducing technology to advance gender equality. New technologies in public transport, including automation and the rise in the gig economy, bring potential benefits and risks for women's employment in public transport. Technological change can provide new opportunities for women working in public transport and can improve working conditions to make the sector more attractive to women. However, inequalities exist in access to new employment opportunities, and technology has the potential to exacerbate harmful gendered inequalities. Without worker consultation and union involvement, new technology can lead to job losses, downgrading of jobs, and health and safety concerns. And I'd now like to invite our sisters from Nairobi, Sister Judith, Irene, and Agnes, who are going to reflect on automation and the impacts of cashless payments on women in public transport and experiences of working in the gig economy. Thank you.
Am I the first speaker, Judith? Okay, hello everyone. My name is Judith Nafula from Nairobi, Kenya. I'm a member and branch organizing secretary of Railway and Allied Workers Union, and also a signals operator in Kenya's standard gauge railway. First of all, I'd like to thank ITF and Flown Initiative for organizing this forum annually and providing this platform for women in the transport sector to air their challenges and also deliberate on solutions affecting women at the workplace. So thank you so much. My presentation will be on the reflection on cashless payment and its impact on women railway workers. So the cashless payment system implies that payments and transactions are through electronic payment systems, hence no dealing with cash in its physical form. The transition to a cashless system as a nation is taking place day by day, especially after COVID-19 hit us last year. Most industries are embracing the digital transformation as it is safer. In the transport industry, especially railway transport, we have adopted the cashless payment system in the services we provide, passenger transport and freight services. And the digital transformation, especially on ticketing, has seen us witness efficiency, convenience, reduced theft and robbery risks, making it safer. This transparency in how we're collecting payments, hence curbing corruption and mismanagement of funds. We are also able to get data collection through the different like boarding times, the seasons, and this can be used for proper planning at the workplace. However, some of the challenges we have experienced with the cashless system include the women working at the ticketing office fear that they have no job security now that the ticketing system has been automated, and also the fact that they are employed on contract. They fear their contracts may not be renewed. Also on this, the fear of job loss highlights that there's no compensation in the event of losing jobs. And most of the women are breadwinners in their homes or families. We have a high number of single parents who depend on this job as their source of livelihood. Other concerns that other challenges that we have faced in the cashless system include privacy concerns, where your personal data and information can find its way to people who may use it wrongly, maybe to even rob you through the internet. We've seen such cases coming up. We also have the issue of equity. Digitalized systems in Kenya have not been fully effective. Like the ownership of smartphones is not at 100%. So we cannot say that it is very effective for us to fully transition to cashless payments. We also noted that bank accounts, not everyone has an active bank account, especially the people from the rural areas, the elderly. We also have the illiterate. So definitely the systems, as we are trying to put these systems in place, there's also that challenge. So this highlights that we still need people we still need people at the workplace to do this job, to help such people. And so through the union, we want to encourage members to join, staff to join the union, so that they can have proper representation. And in case such transitions are occurring at the workplace, they may be able to, the union may be able to come in and they will not lose their jobs. In conclusion, we noticed that most women work in such departments, hence the need to improve skill capacities based on technological advancements. We encourage women at the workplace, and even those who are seeking jobs out there, try and get basic IT skills. If you have basic IT skills, proceed to the next level, so that your versatility at the workplace cannot be affected once one department is affected with digitalization. When women acquire different skills, it makes them versatile at the workplace, hence reduce the risk of job loss in the case that automation occurs. Thank you.
Thank you, Judith. Sister Irene, would you like to come in now?
Okay, thank you, Sister Claire. I am Irene Katia from Public Transport Operators Union. I am a full-time organizer with Public Transport Operators Union, and I'm also the women chairperson, elected women chairperson with the Women's Committee, and also a gender coordinator. I'm going to reflect on the impact of cashless payment on women in the informal sector. And on this, I want to thank you, recognize the work that has been done by ITF. You are doing a very commendable job on this, on issues concerning women in the work or in their workplace, and especially in the informal sector. I'm going to talk about the research that was conducted by ITF on the labor impact on cashless and ticketing. You find that with the ticketing, it is a transition that has not yet taken place. It is still another underway project by the government, but we have seen it. We have experienced it with the coming of the pandemic, that is Corona, where we were forced to use the cashless payment in mode of digital platform like M-Pesa. And it has been realized that with the use of the digital platforms or the cashless payment, it has presented more challenges than the positive effect, and especially on women, because you see that this is a technology that is coming, that is being introduced, and you find that most of the women in the public transport, they lack the skills. When it presents some jobs, it is also presenting some challenges, whereby we can see that during the transition to the ticketing or the cashless payment, many women will not be in a position to take those jobs, mainly because they don't have the skills, and in fact that they are going to lose their jobs. And another challenge that was presented by the digital platform that we've been using during this Corona era is that it was not safe enough. You could find that some passengers were able to reverse the money that was meant to pay for their services in the public transport. And we also see that women in this sector, they are not able to embrace most of the trainings that are required for them to acquire these jobs. They are not able to attain them because you can see that we are working, payments are less. So we work from hand to mouth, and acquiring such trainings is still a task. And there was also another experience there before. I've read it in history. There was this transition to the cashless payment by ABS that was being called, that was termed as mega rider. And I don't know why it didn't succeed, whereby you could walk into the circle that was offering the services or the transport service, and you pay for maybe 1 month, and you would be able to travel free with that service, transport service provider. And I don't know why it was not successful, but we can see that anything that is new and any new technology that is going to be or is being introduced in the transport sector must come with some challenges, and adoption may become somehow a hard task. There has been some recommendation that has been made to curb these challenges, and these recommendations are supposed to be adopted, whereby the workers are supposed to be included in unions and in consultation and decision making, and also the women are supposed to be participants in some of these projects and some of these projects by the government, and also they are also supposed to be included in the gender impact assessment. We can say that as union, we have tried our best because we have lobbied some of these demands with the government agency like NTSA, whereby we presented the demand, and we challenged them on the introduction of the cashless payment and the effect that is going to have on the women. And one of the promises that we were given is that we are going to be included in the consultation meetings and also the decision-making meetings. And we are still following on those cases. We are still negotiating with some of the circles that are supposed to embrace or adopt the cashless payment once it is implemented. And we find that we are still in negotiation, and it is proving to be hard because with this technology, we think that we are supposed to enhance the career growth of the women. You find that our women have stagnated. Some of them joined the industry as conductors, and you find that they are still they stay in the conductor. They are not growing in their career. And some of them even have these requirements that are required by the government to become drivers, but you find it is hard that they are not giving the job. You find here in Kenya, for you to find the PSV or the license that is required for you to become a public vehicle driver, you have to go through your circle. And most of these circles are intimidating, or they are undermining women in embracing or in growing in their career, whereby you see that a woman want to become a driver, they have the requirement, but they cannot be allowed just because they are women. So as the Union Public Transport Operators Workers Union, we are negotiating with the circles to allow these women to join or to enhance in their career growth. And Also, there are other welfares like Matatu Welfare Association and Matatu Owners Association, and we are still in negotiation with them. And one of the challenges that was presented to us is that the women lack skills, and they even challenged us to train the women so that they can pick them from us. And we are thinking of adopting some policies which can allow us to undertake some of these projects. And we are supposed to have roles. We are supposed to have roles or supposed to have activities that are engaging women in the decision making at the union levels and also at the international level. I want to thank ITF for being the forefront in the campaign to enhance the career growth of women, and also the Flow Initiative. They have been giving our women some training, and they have been promoting the career growth of women. And even in this transition to cashless payment, I hope that they are going to enhance more and they are going to support us on that. Thank you very much, Claire.
Thank you, Sister Irene. And I'll now hand over to Sister Agnes to reflect on experiences of working in the gig economy.
Thank you very much, Claire. My name is Agnes Mongera. I'm the women representative of the digital ride-hailing sector in Transport Workers Union. First of all, I would like to commend the ITF for the research that they have done or they do on the women in the gig economy. I'll talk on the experiences that we face or we have during our working time. Gig economy is transforming the world of work and challenging the operation of public transport. Unlike the earlier days where you had to just walk in and get the cab services or the bus services at the bus station, nowadays you just have to hail through the app and you can get the services. So most of the ancient services or the workers are getting it rough to catch up with the current situation. Now, the ITF supports claims that the gig economy can offer access to flexible employment opportunities for the women. Currently, we have seen drivers in the transport sectors who are ladies, and we have also the touts. Like in my sector, before we were not, many ladies did not join the application apps riding cabs. And being a male-dominated job, there was that fear as a lady to join or be part of the working team. But we now have the benefits of many, especially those who who have their own cars. But also it's a disadvantage to those who don't own cars, who have to pay for the cars so that they can use them and offer the services. Now, for the women, we also face the sexual harassment by the owners of the car owners, where you're given, before you're given a car to work with, one might think that he or she can lay advances onto you so that it can give you the car to work with. Also, we face clients who will molest you sexually. And we are fighting for this so that all ladies can be treated well, and we have laws that govern and rule over that. We have the risk of violence, and where authorities, especially here in Kenya, they're informed. We have applications that really have the selection of lady drivers, and during the trip, you're given the SOS button where you can reach the authorities, and if you face any violence, you can report. Now, during our work schedule or the experiences, we have the benefits and we have also the challenges that we face. And the benefits is that most clients or most people really respect they trust the women drivers. So like in my sector, or the cab drivers, you find that most clients will ask you to go pick their kids from school, drop them to church, and they feel safe. They feel safe. Now, most clients also have entrusted us in January the work, where you find that we have applications that you can choose your preferred driver. And we find that most clients will always choose the lady drivers because they feel safe, and they think that a driver can offer more, and a lady driver can offer more and good customer services. Now we have challenges like the gender discrimination, where, for example, we have the long trips for the cabs. You find that clients will always think that lady drivers cannot drive for the long trips. We have the work-life balance, where I'm supposed to balance from my family life and the work and my work life. I don't have enough time with my family because I have to work extra hours to meet my targets and also have enough sufficient income. Sexual harassment, I've talked about that. And being a daily driver, I would recommend all ladies or the women to be encouraged and to be part of us. We want to encourage drivers that anytime that you have those challenges, the union is there for you, and you feel safe being a lady. Thank you very much. I thank the ITF for this opportunity.
Thank you, Sister Agnes. The fourth and final demand in the gender chapter is involving women in decision-making and policy. Women as workers and passengers need to be involved in public transport policy, decision-making, planning and implementation to ensure that specific issues for women are addressed. Social dialogue, negotiation and consultation can ensure women's voices are heard. Gender impact assessments and the use of gender disaggregated data can identify the impact of public transport projects on women. And gender demands should also be integrated into investment principles for funding of public transport infrastructure projects. And women's activism also needs to be
Boda to Taxi Workers Union. This is a transport sector union based in Kenya. And Flown Initiative for organizing this forum so that we can know where we are moving. We all agree that the representation of women within the public spaces is minimal. And we need to do what we have to do to ensure that women have their spaces and they are working within a safe environment, since it's women who consume these services in numbers as compared to our male counterparts. Now, from that, the first thing we need to do is to identify the needs of women. What is it that they need during their activities within the public transport space? Once we identify their needs, we present these needs to their authorities. We have needs that can be dealt with that can be identified by the regulator, that is National Transport and Safety Authority. We have needs that can be addressed by the police. We have needs that can be addressed by other stakeholders. Once we do this, we start negotiating for some opportunities, because if we don't have the numbers within the space, how do we then push for something? How do we lobby for an idea? How do we ask for something? How do we seek? How do we cry out so that we can get what is duly owed to us? Now, we have quite a number of female owners. They have their own vehicles, they have their own motorbikes, they have their own three-wheelers, which are tuk-tuks. Unfortunately, most of them have employed male drivers or male workers. Now, if we have more women who are already trained and they qualify to work within these spaces, we can now negotiate with owners. As the previous speaker has said, the circles, women organization, to absorb these women in employment so that we can have more women inside working within that environment for them to have that muscle to speak. The other thing that we need to do is to partner. If we can form partnerships with organizations, like for us, we have partnered with the Flown Initiative, and I'm happy to announce that through our partnership with Flown Initiative, we have managed to recruit about 40 women into Botax Union. I'm certainly sure that had it not been for that partnership, we wouldn't have achieved that number within that short period. And we intend to carry this relationship forward, and we will be negotiating, we'll be talking with Flown Initiative so that we can roll out the same program across the country. On the other part, if we could engage in social dialogue, once the women are working, they'll want their space in leadership. As a union, again, we have tried to place more women, and we are working towards preparing more women to get leadership positions into the trade union. And once we have them into leadership positions, they will be able to sit in those committees. They will be able to make decisions. They will be able to be part of the decision-making processes when we sit with the county government and other stakeholders where decisions are made, because they come from the industry. Now, we have that social dialogue. Then we can build alliances with other parties to ensure that we push for the same agenda. And then within our unions also, we need to have structures. We need to have structures whereby women's activities can be dealt with separately and wholly from the activities of the larger union. And of course, most of it all, we need to invest more in training and development to boost their skills, especially leadership skills, negotiating skills, and lobbying. These are issues that we need to train them on, so that when they're coming on board, trainers or as workers or as leaders, they need to know exactly what they need to go for, the specific needs, they identify them and push for them, so that you are able to boost numbers and fight for a safe space for women working within transport. So, thank you.